Welcome back to another episode, everybody. I am here joined with Harmony Slater. I am so excited you're joining me today, Harmony.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited because we're going to dive into topics that I don't always talk about, but I do a lot of. So,
Yeah.
you are a yoga instructor. You're a certified master coach. You are a breathwork and pranayama trainer. You have a lot of
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah. I've been at it for a while. They
Yeah.
start to accumulate after 25 years.
Well, and I can kind of see the progression of,
Yeah.
where you're going. And now you work, help women entrepreneurs with build soul aligned businesses. So we're
Mhm.
going to get into all of that. But I do want to start, as we are going to focus today on ancient breath work and how that can help
Mhm.
people in their everyday lives with their stress levels. We're going to dive into Kundalini, a really interesting topic. And then we'll talk about what you do every day.
Sure.
And how I like to start this show, Harmony, is just to give you the space to share your personal story of how you arrived at where you are today. How'd you get to become an Ashtanga yoga teacher? With, by the way, let me just make this statement. She's one of 20 women globally, right, to have the highest Ashtanga certification you can get. Now, anybody listening that doesn't know much about yoga, Ashtanga yoga is no joke. Like, it is difficult, right? And I watched you, Harmony, on some of your Instagram. I'm like, man, it's amazing. So at the end of the show, you guys got to get on Harmony's page and watch her.
Yeah, you
So
might have to scroll back a bit, but
I did see them though. So go ahead and share. I'd love to hear how you got to teach and how'd you get to do what you're doing
yeah.
today.
Yeah, for sure. So happy to share my story. Like I said, it started a long time ago, when I was quite young. I came to yoga. I was a ballet dancer. So Ashtanga yoga is sort of like the ballet of the dance world. It's very strict and disciplined and rigid. And the only place to get officially authorized or certified to teach is in Mysore, India. So obviously, I come to everything I do with this sort of, intensity, triple AAA excellence, striving personality across the board. And was in university studying philosophy and religious studies, particularly Buddhism, I loved. And that took me to China, where I was doing an honors degree in Buddhist meditation. And so studying at some monasteries there. And that really led me into wanting to practice yoga more, like authentically. And so I had been practicing a little bit and, knew what it was and had explored. And this was like in the early 2000s. So, yoga wasn't what it was then as it is today. Um, but I really wanted to go to the source and meet the guru of Ashtanga yoga. So I traveled to Mysore, India, and dove into practicing with Sri K. Patabi Joyce, who was there living and alive teaching yoga. And I kept going back. I actually moved to Thailand and taught and managed a retreat center there. I moved to Goa, India, and taught and managed a retreat center there. And then I went to Victoria, British Columbia, and opened up my own yoga studio after about 5 years of living in Southeast Asia. And all the while, I would go back to Mysore, India, and practice and study, learning. I had done some Sanskrit in my degree in university, but really learning Sanskrit there and Vedic chanting, as well as pranayama. And then, of course, the Ashtanga yoga piece with the very intense asanas
Oh,
and the
yeah.
very disciplined schedule. And of course, I love the philosophy, and that's what my degrees was in university. So really going into the yogic philosophy as well. And after giving birth to my son and owning my yoga studio for 7 years, I sold it and moved back to my home city, which is in Calgary, Canada, and started traveling and teaching mainly. So now
Wow.
I still do that. I still travel and teach workshops and retreats in different countries all over the world. And also then started my online offerings, which is mostly coaching. And I have a beautiful breathwork course called Ancient Breathing 2.0, where I have distilled all of the pranayama techniques, which in pranayama is just a Sanskrit word for what we would call breath work now. But prana is energy, it's life force, it's breath, and ayama means to extend or expand. Yama, without the A, means to control or to regulate.
Mm.
And so it has this double meaning, this word. It's the control of the breath to expand the life force. And so there's some beliefs in India that we are only as healthy as we are, as our respiratory system and our digestive systems are.
Yeah.
And that we're given a certain number of breaths the day we're born. And when we run out of those breaths, we die. And so by lengthening and extending your breath, you can live longer, right?
Yeah.
So animals like elephants live a long time. Animals like dogs live a short time. And so sort of like looking at nature and then applying this philosophy to humans. I don't know if it's true, just putting it out there.
That's the theory, right?
That's the theory.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because we live in this culture where, when we're talking about health and living or having a vital life or longer life, nobody really dives into the depths of breath work like pranayama does,
Yeah.
It's like we're talking about food and water and exercise and sleep now is the thing.
Yeah.
But
sleep's important.
It's important, but our number one source of living is breathing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and it's also like the number one way to regulate your nervous system as well, right? Because breath is tied to your autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system is what is doing your digestion and keeping your heart beating and keeping you breathing. Right. It's all the automatic things that are going on and autonomic, that we don't have to think about. But it's much harder to like control your digestion or to control your heart rate. It's very easy to control your breath. Right. And so it connects us to this unconscious part of our system and brings it into our conscious awareness. So it's useful in all kinds of different dimensions when you start to really look at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If only we would learn this when we're very small. And I know there's people today that do this with their kids, but on the whole, as a culture, it's not happening. I mean, most people don't even, when they're running around, don't even think about breathing, right? We don't think about it until you're panicking and having a panic attack. And then it's like, maybe I should learn some breath work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had really severe childhood asthma. And so I feel like thinking about breathing and my breath was always something I was very aware of because of that. Yeah. And so in a weird way, the disorder or that dysregulated system was almost a gift for me because it made me hyper aware of how I was breathing. Not all the time, obviously, but when I was getting anxious or like with activity or just different things, I was always kind of tuned in to like, what's my breath like right now? Not in a way of like, I know what to do to help myself, but in like, oh shit, maybe I should take some Ventolin or something.
Right. So would you say that was a catalyst for you even learning about, you said you first went to China to study Buddhism, right? So there's a lot of meditating going on.
Yes, a lot of meditating.
Did it just happen to be that way? You just kind of synchronistically, you put two and two together later?
I think I learned the benefits of meditation a lot sooner and then I kind of went into the body because I was very much in my mind studying philosophy and religious studies. And I loved looking at the mind. I studied the philosophy of the mind and existentialism and problems of the mind. And, I was really interested in human experience. So then you're going to be interested in the mind, right?
100%.
Yeah. So Buddhism really like connected me to that and the practice of meditation and doing, silent retreats and Vipassana meditation and going deep into that route as well. Yeah. But then through the practice of yoga, especially Ashtanga Yoga, is really about yoking your breath and your body together. And so you start to become aware of your breathing because you're trying to move with the breath in what, we call the vinyasa. And so that really started to tune me into the breathing and the breath work. And then I met a guru who lives in India. He's still alive today. I think he's maybe 98 today.
And who is this? Which guru
His
is this?
name's Sri O.P. Tiwari, and he was the head of the Kavalyadam Institute in Lonavala, India. They also have a branch in Mumbai. And this is an institute that was started by Swami Kavayananda, who was my guru's teacher. And it was one of the first research institutes in India studying yoga from a scientific perspective. And so it has a long history of trying to bring yoga into sort of this modern age and looking at doing scientific studies on people around yogic practices long before the West was ever interested in yoga or doing any science about breathing or meditating or yoga postures. And so it was like this whole institute is quite ahead of its time, the Kavalyadam Institute. And so my teacher, the way that they really go into the practices of yoga is through the pranayama. And pranayama is sort of their main technique or tool or discipline that they use, because without the pranayama, you're not really able to contain. I mean, and it's used both for curative practices. So there's ways you can breathe to help alleviate physical ailments, mental ailments, to help bring about balance and health and healing in the body. But there's also spiritual pranayamas, and those are used to activate that Kundalini energy and to, you know, connect you to your highest self or to awaken to self-realization. And so they're really looking at what is happening. They knew it worked, but what is actually happening when this happens?
Well, and it's interesting too, because today everybody loves to coin the new phrase and it's this new thing, you know, and I'm always like, but like thousands of years ago, they were talking about this in detail. You could read all about Kundalini, right? Yeah. You can read about it. And it's like, they say, well, they didn't have the technology. I'm like, well, maybe they did. Maybe they had something that we just don't know about, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you read a yogic text, it's not a weird thing. I mean, this is where this whole idea of awakening, self-realization, Kundalini, I mean, it's all there. It's very clear.
I know. And I'm always like, I don't think we're at any different point. I mean, the human being to me has always been able to do that. Since we've been human, I believe this has been a thing. And 100%. Somewhere along the line, it's like somebody just shut the door on that, and then let's not let the masses know about this, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't know, but it just seems odd that suddenly there's no information on it, you know.
I think it's very interesting. I think in the maybe the late 1800s, you know, like during the scientific revolution, we really went into a very materialistic space, I think.
Yeah.
Of, you know, thinking if we can't see it, you know, the empiricism, you know, if we can't prove it, we can't see it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And really going deeply into science, which kind of shut down a lot of our extrasensory perceptions and also kind of closed us off to this idea that we are actually a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we kind of went the opposite direction where we're like, oh, we're human beings. And now we're trying to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah. Right. Flip the switch.
Actually,
maybe we got it all wrong.
Yeah. So we forget, you know, we've forgotten who we truly are. Yeah. And so the whole process of Kundalini is really reconnecting and waking up with the truth of who you are.
Yeah. So
or what you are.
Yeah. Maybe you can share with the listeners, you know, what is Kundalini energy? Give the whole because there's Kundalini yoga and then the whole theory of, you know, maybe you could split it up into those two parts so the listener knows. Yeah.
Definitely. So Kundalini yoga was created by Yogi Bhajan, who is a controversial guru figure of the 20th century. A very good businessman, created Yogi tea, which we all love. Best thing he ever did.
The tea.
Yeah, the tea. But they use a lot of different breathing and movement techniques that they call Kriya. It's a lot of kind of somatic activation. And, you know, it has its own effects and benefits and drawbacks as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different than Kundalini energy. And there's also a type of energy work called Kundalini activation, which is like a totally separate thing as well. Using sound, vibration, intention, the movement of energy to help in their sort of viewpoint or perspective to help somebody connect into their own Kundalini energy or awaken it. Also to one side, if we just look at the Kundalini energy, it's really a psycho-spiritual energy, a psycho-spiritual force that exists within all of us. And the yogic texts use a lot of metaphor. And so Kundalini is a feminine word. So it's a goddess energy. And it's said to be dormant and resting at the base of the spine, curled up 3.5 coils. And the whole process of self-realization or having a samadhi experience, that, as we would say in yoga, right? You're going through these 8 limbs. That's what the Ashtanga Yoga means. It means the 8-limb practice. And so this final 8th limb is samadhi. So samadhi, self-realization, Kundalini awakening, waking up, enlightenment is all different words for the same process that happens quite naturally with a little bit of intention and determination and sometimes spontaneously for other people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of depends. Spontaneous awakening, I think, was not so common in the ancient times. I feel like it seems like we're kind of collectively moving more into a space where we're maybe sensitive to these things, and our consciousness is already kind of understanding interconnection on a different level just because of the internet and all the things. So there's something interesting happening in our collective consciousness right now. But back to the ancient texts.
We'll go back to that.
Yeah, let's go back there for a bit. So the idea is that we have a lot of, I'm going to say blocks or pollutants or inhibitions, things that are emotional, mental, physical, actual like mucus that is in our bodies, things that we're not like clean in a way or pure or
a little bit toxic.
Yeah, we have a little bit of toxicity to us, like on all these planes of being human, right? Mental, emotional, and physical.
On all levels.
All levels, yeah. And so when we start to clear them out, and so practices like hatha yoga, any kind of yogic practice, fasting, extreme sort of chanting, meditating, praying, any kind of spiritual practice starts to eliminate some of these obstacles. And so, we might have all had experiences where, you're in a yoga class and then all of a sudden you start crying, or you're meditating for a long period of time and then some like memories start to come up that you've forgotten, or maybe emotion comes up. Often it moves in emotion as well, or shaking or tremoring. That can also be a release. And so it's sort of interesting because I think in today's language, we often talk about, trauma and releasing trauma. And, we have this obsession with
trauma,
like trauma.
Isn't it? I mean, it's all over. I'm like, is everything really? It's like, it's the new coined word, like I was just talking about earlier.
Which I think is just being alive at this point.
That's so funny you say that, Harmony, because I've always thought, isn't just being here a trauma? Like, do we have to have a specific one?
Yeah, right.
Just doing this life is not easy. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think a lot of the ways these blocks like move and shift and get released, or I'm calling them blocks, but they're not necessarily blocks, but literally in the text, they say that we have this central channel, which is a type of nadi, and a nadi means a little river. And it's imperceptible because it helps to move the energy along the spine or through the spine. And when this central channel, when the literal mucus that's blocking it is flushed out and cleansed out, then the channel can open.
Mm.
And when the channel is open, which means that both sides, also the Ida and the Pingala, and this is where it becomes quite interesting, the sun and the moon channel, which is the right and the left. And this is symbology that is like clear throughout culture, across cultures, right? You have the caduceus with the two snakes going.
Yeah. And they try to make that evil. Some people want to say
yeah,
that's
but it's
evil.
a symbol for health, actually,
Right.
and medicine.
Yeah.
And so when that central channel is open and the two sides are also equally open, then the energy, which is inherent and natural and innate to every single human being, can start to move into that central channel and move upwards. And as it moves upwards, it's going to hit sort of points along its journey. One of those points, well, the first one's at the very bottom, the mucus that needs to get cleared out, right? That's called the Brahma Granthi. And so it's the knot. It's like a physical psychosomatic knot that needs to unravel or be released before the energy will even start that journey.
Yeah.
Then there's another block around the navel area or up near the solar plexus. That is the Vishnu Granthi. And then there's another one in the throat area. That's the Rudra Granthi. And so at each level, there's sort of a different psychosomatic block that needs to kind of move or release or kind of be transmuted for the energy to move all the way up, they'd say, to the crown, where then both hemispheres of the brain are speaking to each other in a balanced way, and we're accessing all of the energy that is available to our dynamic biology and physiology.
So this is a personal experience. So I just want to share this with you. I taught Bikram yoga for years and practiced early 2000s a lot. And I was teaching one day, I wasn't practicing, but as I was teaching and I'm just walking, I suddenly had this very sudden movement in my spine. It started with this shift kind of in the solar plexus, big weird thing happened. And this literal felt like a freight train coming up my back as I'm teaching. And I had no knowledge of Kundalini whatsoever at the time. So I'm just teaching it's like I was teaching and words are coming out of my mouth, but I'm having this experience and it's coming up my back. It's moving up the back of my neck, pushing up the base of my skull, and it's coming. I feel like it's overwhelming me big time, and I'm heating up like a volcanic eruption. The trembling is starting, and I'm thinking, and no one can see this is happening. It's like it's internal. But then I get to a point where I have to stop. I had somebody take over the class, but I remember leaving that room and just looking up at the ceiling when I lay down outside of it. And I thought, what was that? It was so powerful. But Harmony, that sent me on like a 15-year, a total unraveling of everything I thought I was. And the energy and the physical body was so overwhelming. I could not find anybody except one man in Boulder that temporarily helped me with disruptive Kundalini. But it was like this energy just went wild. And there was an electricity that I suddenly became so sensitive to everything. And I wasn't a sensitive person, like to places or energy, never, And all of a sudden it was like I was an electrical and I could feel everything coming in all the time. And then eventually it blew out through my head. I felt this boom, and that's a whole other thing I won't get into. But I just wanted to ask you, what is your experience personally, or have you known people who've had just these spontaneous, like maybe my yoga practice was prepping me for that and I just didn't know it. And I wasn't aware of it, but it just sent
Did
me
you have intense headaches?
There was pressure in the head. It felt like for a time, there was a lot of physical sensations in the beginning, and it felt like like I had a belt around my head, just tingling in the head. I felt like somebody was doing surgery in my brain. And it was just the wildest time of my life. I couldn't do anything for a long time, but I was just curious your experience with that and what your take on all that is.
Yeah, I think we use the yoga practices like the asanas, to like create health or, to have a nice sort of feeling after we practice.
Yeah.
But really, in my opinion, they're they're there to create a strong container to hold this energy.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, like sometimes, you know, in yoga philosophy, they believe in reincarnation and past lives. And so, some, like my guru always has this beautiful story of this little boy who would just look at a picture of Krishna and
Mm-hmm.
he'd go into trance state.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So he'd like immediately go into trance state,
Trends
like
out.
just
Yeah.
awaken
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't come back for like several hours.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have different, karmas or different, um, past gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this belief that anything we do in this life is going to kind of influence or affect future lives. So, yeah, someone like yourself, you could have had a past life where maybe you did a lot of intense
Yeah.
practice, was born into this body, and then you did a little bit of
Yeah.
practice.
Right.
But you were primed to have this energy come up. And like I said, collectively in our consciousness, I don't know, maybe we're just at a time where,
It's
the earth
time.
is like, we need more awake people. Otherwise, we're not going to survive, guys.
Yeah. And you signed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
I don't remember that. I know.
Yeah.
Just
But
signing
I
up.
feel like the yoga asanas are really here to create a strong container to hold the energy so that, we can exist and be in the world and not be overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
sometimes when it happens very quickly without preparation, also like sometimes one side opens and the other side doesn't open. You need to like redirect the energy into both
Oh yeah.
sides so that it
Yeah.
goes through the middle. Gopi Krishna is probably the most
I read his
famous.
book. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Who
like
had,
reading that going, oh, he's never getting
yeah.
rid of this.
Yeah. And so it's like about creating the container
Mhm.
to hold and sustain the energy in a way that, yeah, feels good rather
Right.
than is either, you're not sleeping and you're overactivated, or you're sleeping all the time and completely lacking any kind of sense of wanting to move. Like both of those extremes,
Exist.
could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's there was a lot of stuff. I was just curious how much do you see people like that in your own practice, or have you had a personal feeling of Kundalini in your own experience?
Yeah, I think for me, my experience was much more gradual in that because I practiced so intensely for so long, there was a lot of like little interesting kind of experiences
Yeah.
along the way that was like the peeling of an onion, like
Right.
one layer,
Right.
the other layer, and like also a deep sort of introspection because I was aware of this process. Like my whole journey, I've
Yeah,
it's
you
always
knew
been
it.
towards like spiritual realization and Kundalini awakening, which interestingly enough can be almost a block
Yeah.
because then you're like creating a goal and then you're going
Yes.
after it. And the more you want it, the less you're going to get
It can be a
it.
trap, a huge trap,
A
right? For your
total
own mind.
trap. It's
Yeah.
a total trap. And so it wasn't actually until I completely was just like, I don't care anymore. I don't want that the energy
Here we go.
comes up. But I definitely felt like for me, there was a whole hollowing out of the center, um,
Mm-hmm.
a complete movement of energy. I could feel it like completely, yeah, moving. But it wasn't destabilizing for me.
Yeah.
And I think it was because it was more gradual before that sort of energy
Right.
woke up.
Well, and your maybe prior knowledge of it helped you too. I mean, you kind of knew
Yeah.
what was happening. I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on? You know?
Yeah, I had a
I,
lot, like I had a framework to
right.
understand. And I also had been, doing for many years like a very stable practice, not just asana, but I would say even more the pranayama, because the pranayama is more about
Uh-huh.
using the breath and the energy and being able to hold your breath for long periods of time without anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, building up a strong sort of uh, shell or like bowl to hold
Hold it
this,
in.
yeah, force. And a lot of times it's explained like this, we have, if you look at your body like wiring,
Yeah.
right? And or like an appliance or something, and you plug it into a, I don't even know what voltage is, but like a 30-watt voltage, here
Yeah.
in North America, your hair dryer works just fine.
Yeah.
But if you take it to India where the voltage is like 120,
Oh, yeah.
it blows it out, right? It short circuits it. And so I think if you think of it like that, that there's an energy inside of us that is so intense and so powerful.
Oh, it's so
Um,
powerful.
yeah, that if your nervous system isn't prepared, it kind of short circuits you for a
Yeah.
bit and
Oh, and
blows you out.
those are the perfect words. I've used all those words, the short circuiting, the electric, I use the explanation of like your computer has too
Mm-hmm.
much, it's got too much in it and you're trying to download
Yeah.
more information. You don't have enough storage and the nervous
Yeah.
system is freaking out. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
would say, and tell me what you think of this, that it seems as if the energy itself is actually so intelligent, right? It is rewiring and reworking everything, and the mind is the one that's trying to seek and solve a problem that it's never going to solve. So for me personally, it was about letting go of anything I thought about it and just allowing whatever it was doing to do, get out of the way and allow it to happen, you know?
Yeah. 100%. It requires full surrender,
Yeah.
and it's beyond the mind. You can't control it. It's
No,
not controllable. So
it's
you
hard to
have to
tell people that.
surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have no choice but to just surrender and just like, yeah, be in that energy. But
Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, it's beautiful and terrifying, depending on what
Well,
end of
I
the
had the
spectrum you're looking at it from.
Well, it has the both. It's this
Yeah.
terrifying moment until there's a surrender, at least for
Yeah.
me. But I'm sure it's
Yeah.
can be different for each person.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think in India they have like a framework, because this concept does come from India. It exists in all cultures though, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
any spiritual experience and any human can and potentially can have this experience because it's not something that you need to like get or do or buy
Right.
or accumulate. It exists inside of you. And
Yeah.
so it's more about getting rid of stuff
Exactly.
in order to have that experience happen.
It's an undoing.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but they have all these gods and goddesses and like deities in India, and one of their most maybe frightening deity is Kali, who's like this
Mm.
goddess who rips off people's heads, and she has blood dripping down her mouth and like her tongue sticking out really
She would.
long. Yeah, and she's holding like the head of a dead person in
It's
her
just, yeah,
hand.
really gruesome.
And but it's like, so to look at her is like very frightening.
Yeah.
But it's said that she's like the fierce mother to her
Mm.
devotees. Like she's this goddess mother who like nurtures her devotees in the most loving way. And I always feel like when we talk about these energies, it's a little bit like that. Like if
Yeah.
you're playing around with it, you might end up not happy with yourself.
I know when people are trying to do it, I'm always like, you may not want to do that. Let it
Yeah.
happen naturally. I mean, I don't know.
It's sort of, yeah, and it's sort of like what I was saying, like the more you're trying to make it happen, it's like you want it because you think you need it to be better than you are. You want it because you think it's going to get you something that you don't already have.
Right.
And so we're putting it outside of us and trying to like using the same framework that we use for everything in our lives to a spiritual experience,
Yeah.
right? But the actuality of the experience is realizing that there's you don't need to change anything.
No.
And there's nothing outside of you that can make you better than you already are. I mean, that's the nature and the
Yeah.
essence of the experience is
It's a
it's all
joke too.
already perfect.
It's like this joke that it kind of makes you laugh because
Yeah.
here you go, we all go searching around, we're on this endless scavenger hunt looking for ourselves or looking for this self-realization moment and it's literally been with us. And I really loved what you said earlier is because you made a statement that it's in all cultures and not all cultures are practicing yoga. It doesn't have to
No.
be through yoga. I always got into the shamanic initiation, which I found
Yeah.
very fascinating. It's very similar, but even
Yeah.
more so like this. It's like a dying, right? I mean, if you think about it,
Mhm.
it's the death of who you think you are and the acknowledgement and realization of what's already there. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think like, there's like the psychedelic revolution
I
happening right
know.
now. And
It's everywhere. It's
and I think a lot of,
I'm like, you don't want to
plant
do that.
medicines, because it is a primal energy. It is the energy of the earth.
Yeah.
And we are of the earth.
Yeah.
And so I think that this psychedelic revolution is also kind of, aiding this uprising and this awakening of our collective consciousness as well, because it does tap into
Yeah.
that primal energy in us, to that innate life force that is in
Where?
us,
Yeah.
right? When we take something like a psychedelic, that's not doing something to us. It's
Mm-hmm.
waking up what's already
Already
inside
there.
of us, right? And
Yeah.
so there's this interesting kind of dance that's happening right now around the earth kind of like, needing or wanting or calling forth, I think, more conscious beings
Yeah.
in service to this energy.
Yeah.
Because as you say, it's really recognizing that like you're just a piece of the puzzle. Like you're
Right.
nothing special, right?
I
You're
know.
just
People
you're
don't like to
just
hear that though. That's like
yeah.
threatening, very threatening to a lot of people. What do you mean? You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, but it can also be very destabilizing. I think a lot of people have that very destabilizing experience sometimes when they're, again, playing around with psychedelics or plant medicine, and
Oh,
then they're
yeah.
like, you know, completely out of their minds without proper integration or practices or grounding to hold the insight or the energy that they woke up.
Right. Right. It's it makes me laugh a little bit. I'm like, why would you want to? I don't know, because you don't have control over that sometimes, right? You don't know how long
You don't have control.
your trip's gonna last. Although I felt like I was on a trip without drugs for years, you know.
Yeah.
Just like it was.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, it's in you. I've had conversations with people who are very into plant medicine or any kind of drug, and they're
Yeah.
using it for that purpose. And I may say something, and I honestly, I don't have an opinion. I just kind of think
Yeah.
whatever you choose for yourself, just,
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah.
But they kind of want to make it sound like that like you said, the plant is doing it, and I'm like, but it's in you. It's kind of like, you're tapping in it. Maybe there's something the plant's doing to release the part that you don't have a hard time letting go of, right?
Yeah.
The mind and the blocks. Maybe that's it's kind of like whether you're doing recreational drugs or drinking, it's the same thing. You just feel like you're limitless and then you have access. But the mind, you
Yeah.
can do that without it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it without it too. And I think that's the work that we have to realize, is that when it's the substance itself isn't like doing it to us,
Mm-hmm.
actually. It's just stopping all of the things. It's actually like stopping our patterns
Yeah.
that we naturally believe or go to that prevent us from having this like full brain connection. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
talk about it in science, right? It's
Right.
like
Yes.
neurons are connecting with each other. Your brain is making like all these like wild connections with different things
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't normally do.
Right. Well, what do they say? We use like 10% of the brain or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
It's like,
know if that's true,
they
but
say this, and I'm like, well, what's going on in the other
I think
90%?
yeah, I think mostly we're like only conscious of, 10% of what's going on. And then also like we get stuck in ruts, we
Mm-hmm.
keep thinking the same thoughts, we keep doing the same habits. We're living like, I think 90% of our life, our day is unconscious. We're just
Oh, yeah.
going through the same conversations,
Habitual.
driving the same way to work, like not
I
even thinking
know.
about how we're driving, just autopilot. So much of what we do is just completely operating out of habit.
Yeah. Autopilot.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so it's really like just breaking the
The
habit of the
cycle.
mind, right? Or as Joe Dispenza says, like breaking the habit of being yourself or something,
Yeah, yeah, I think he says that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of true. Stop being
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, and realize actually that it's just a fake personality. You
Right.
like there is no you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I know. And it's funny. I had moments, or I still have moments, where you kind of see this vast awareness field you're in, and you're watching the personality. And I feel like the personality is just a mechanism that just does its thing. But when you break off from it, like there's that awareness that sees it, but it's still doing its thing. It becomes this very strange existence because you're like, well, I'm not that, but I'm seeing it. And now
Hmm.
I see the actress, on the
Yeah,
stage like Shakespeare, all the world's a stage,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's an interesting thing. And I think like you said, more and more people are starting to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, it's fascinating because like more people than ever before on the face of the planet have access to all of these spiritual tools like yoga and meditation and mantra and, you know, mindset and
Yeah.
like somatic techniques and emotional techniques. And, we're like it's, it's all there. It's
Yeah.
all there for us. And
Yeah.
so, like never before. So it
Yeah.
makes sense when you think about it. If there's things that you can do and ways that you can be and things you can become aware of and certain practices or ways of breathing or techniques that give you a sense of deeper connection to yourself, and it's like available
Yeah.
anywhere, anytime, all day long,
For free.
free a lot of the time,
You don't need to
right?
pay for anything. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wonder people are having more of these experiences.
Yeah. Well, you said something that now leads me to ask you this question about breath work. So, what do you
Yeah.
recommend for anybody who's freaking out, or
Yeah.
they're just stressed out? Let's just say you're stressed out and you could take it to the level of a panic attack.
Yeah.
What do you recommend is a breathing technique that people can do on the fly, like as they're in the experience of their life?
Yeah. So I think a good one, like, because also, I mean, just to like put a little piece on the Kundalini
Yeah.
experience and awakening and self-realization, and to reflect back what you said of like seeing your personality, and like you're still you.
Yeah.
And but like you also realize that that's like not really who you are.
Yeah.
But like you live in two dimensions now. Like there's
Yeah.
this reality, behavioral reality, where you still need to pay your bills and,
Do your
drive your
thing.
kids to school and, do all
Yep.
the things.
Yeah.
And so you need an ego, you need a personality to function in this world.
You do. Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with having an ego and a
Yeah.
personality.
Well, otherwise
But
you're not here. Yeah.
yeah, how do you do anything?
I
Right.
know.
So but also there's an awareness that this is like a limited experience of reality,
Right.
right? So there's these two things going on, and also life keeps lifing. And so you are going to have stress, and you
Hmm.
are going to experience maybe anxiety or panic attacks at times, or you're going to, get angry or feel sad and grieve. And like that's being human and having like this self-realization, or, waking up to who and what you truly are, doesn't take you out of the human experience. You still are
Hmm.
actually a spiritual being here to have exactly that experience.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you're going to keep having that experience. And I think a lot of us go to spirituality and spiritual practices like yoga or meditation because we're sick of being in our human experience and we want to get out and have this
Yeah.
spiritual experience, which
Yeah.
we think is going to save us from our human experience. And then we're not going to have to feel any of these things anymore. Right?
Right. Well, and then the people out in the spiritual realm are going, I got to get back in the body.
Yeah.
It's
But the key
this
is
circle.
really to be in the body and to be in the experience of right now,
Yeah.
exactly as it is.
Right. Well, because
And so,
we tend to
yeah,
want to escape whatever we're in. And
all
any
the time.
way, shape, or form that happens, because that can
Yeah.
happen in numerous ways. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, and then we have all these like these habits and patterns, like we go for the all the ways that we try to numb our feelings rather than just feeling the feelings and
Yeah.
being with.
Yeah. Or yelling
Yeah.
at your kids. No.
Yeah. Well, as long as you repair, it's fine.
I
It
just say
happens
that.
to the best of us.
Well, I say that because I have four of them, and it's like every now and
Yeah,
then it's just the wrath comes out, and then you're like, and you
of course.
watch. The weirdest part is you're watching that, and then
Yeah.
I'll go, "Oh, I just totally freaked out on you. That was not necessary. I'm so,
Yeah.
But you can catch yourself, when
Mhm.
you're being human and doing things like that,
Yeah.
reacting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that's the thing that we kind of lose ourselves in is like we're going to do that. We're going to have those very human experiences, and it's really about how we come back to ourselves and how we repair relationships and how we be with other people
Yeah,
in those experiences.
yeah,
And so, like, for example, my son was, I don't know, like he watches these bodybuilders. He's obsessed with bodybuilding. He's 15.
yeah.
I made him breakfast this morning. I put the breakfast down. He's watching his video, and I'm just like kind of annoyed, like irritated. I'm just like, I'm trying to have a conversation with him. He's not listening, and
Yeah,
you know, and so we had an exchange. It wasn't like I wasn't yelling at him or anything, but I was just like, duh, 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 very like, duh, duh,
yeah.
duh. and and at the same time, yeah, you're like seeing like, oh, you're kind of annoyed and frustrated and irritated at him, and you're kind of like taking it out on him, and that probably doesn't like your energy isn't coming across as like loving and nurturing and like mother you want to be.
Yeah. You're like, I made you this meal, and now you're sitting there not paying attention or being grateful, and you're watching bodybuilding.
Exactly.
I could hear your thoughts just going.
Yeah, just like what that like what okay. And so we're gonna have these like experiences and reactions because we still have our personality, right?
Hmm.
Especially when we're in human form. But it's like just noticing. Like I think when you notice and you're aware and you're like, okay, I'm having all of these feelings and irritations and annoyances, and I could be taking it out on him a lot more harshly.
But you
But
went to
because
your breath
you're
work, right?
yeah, but because you're aware of it, you can kind of just like be with the irritation and, still be like, okay, like this is mine, not his. I'm gonna work with
Right.
my own shit.
Well, you're right. Yeah, it's our thing. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And so you in a way are able to kind of take radical responsibility for your experience in the world
Hmm.
rather than blaming other people and other things on it, because you realize this is all like being generated within yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, you know, what is this teaching me, or what am I learning, or just why is it here, or not even why it's here. It's just like, this is here. You don't even have to know why. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you didn't sleep great. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you have a million things to do and you're just like, your mind's running in circles. And I think sometimes again, instead of just being like, oh, this is how I'm feeling anxious right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to be with feeling anxious. That's the feeling that's here. Let's
Yeah.
just be with this feeling.
Right.
We try to get rid of it, and then it doesn't go away, and that makes us more anxious, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
feel irritated and we think I shouldn't feel irritated, and then we're irritated that we're irritated, and that's building up the irritation.
And meanwhile, we're escalating into rage, and it's a whole
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and then we're like, what do I do with all this energy? Where's it go? And
Yeah.
then you're
Yeah.
yelling at your kids and you're like, they didn't even do anything.
Well, and you can see why people end up doing things they regret, because that builds
Yeah,
up and they don't have the tools. They're not
exactly.
aware. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how to like channel that energy, or how to be with the emotions or the feelings or the sensations that are uncomfortable that are coming up. I think like the best thing you can do, and it's so simple, but nobody's going to do it.
Because it's too easy. Isn't that true? It's so true.
Yeah. But like the best thing you can do for your nervous system is have 5-10 minutes every morning where you do like one singular practice where you are learning to extend your exhale to be twice as long as your inhale.
Mm.
This could just be simple breathing where you're inhaling through your nose and like listening to the second hand of a ticking clock or a metronome app on your iPhone if you don't have an old school clock, right? Count how long it takes. Maybe it's 4 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe it's 10 seconds, and then make the exhale twice as long. If you do that for 5 minutes, you could just do simple breathing like that through both nostrils. I think a lot of people are familiar with alternate nostril breathing where you inhale through the left side and then exhale for double through the right side. And then you inhale back through the right side and then exhale for double through the left side. So if you want to get fancy, you can do something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to get fancy. So if you're in the line that you're like really annoyed with, you can just start doing that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you're in the line, you just do the simple one. No one can tell.
Everyone will be like, what is she doing?
Yeah. But if you have like a morning practice right when you get up where it's very simple, 1 or 2 types of breathing, where you're extending the exhale for twice the length, that's going to take, if your nervous system is say at a 7 and that's your baseline, right? You only have 3 points of stress before you're losing your shit.
You're saying 1 to 10, right? Scale 1 to 10.
Yeah, 1 to 10.
10 being the worst, right?
10 being like you're yelling at your kids.
Yeah.
If 7 is like your baseline and you do that every morning for 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to bring your baseline down to a 6. And then down to a 5, and then down to a 4 over time. Over regularity and consistency is very important because you start to establish a new baseline. So then you can handle more stress and stay regulated. Stay in a place where you're like, yeah, it's okay. I'm just going to go do this, right? You're in this calm space as you're navigating stressful situations.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing you can do as far as an easy, simple practice, but it requires creating that time in this for yourself to do it. And so that's why I said it's simple, but no one's going to do it because everyone's too busy already. So,
because everybody gets up and goes, oh no, I'm late.
That's right. You have to like get up 15 minutes early and like commit to it. But if you're really serious about it, it will work and it will transform your entire life. Yeah. Guaranteed.
And we're talking 10, 15 minutes. Like
it's not long. I mean, I'm sure all of us like watch at least an hour on some streaming platform every day.
Oh yeah. And
often 2 hours.
You can get up 15 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
But then you have the
bed a half hour earlier.
But then somebody will, sorry to interrupt you, but some people will go, well, but I don't sleep well. I got to get everything in there. And it's just, you can just hear the excuses just roll.
I know. That's what it's simple, but it's challenging. So we have blocks that come up around it. Like, no, I don't want to change, but I want to change, but I don't want to change. Change is hard.
It is. But we're comfortable.
It changes easy. Our resistance to change is what makes it hard.
Oh, it does. Well, it's that fear of what it will be like now. We're so familiar, even if it sucks, whereas at least it's familiar,
Totally. 100%. So the emergency breath work that I always go to, and even for myself, like, cause days are busy and you maybe are running all day long from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And then like you get in your car and you're about to drive your daughter to her ballet practice and you're just like, this is the first time I've slowed down all day long, right?
Yeah.
So for me, what I like to do if I'm feeling that kind of like anxiety or that stress starting to come up, like you've drank 1 too many cups of coffee.
Freaking out.
You're not quite there, but you're like almost there.
Yeah.
Or you're in the car and you're in traffic and you're late and like, you can feel the energy, that tension, that anxiety kind of rising. Is if you breathe in, again, you can breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth with if you just purse your lips a little bit, like you're blowing out a candle very, very, very slowly, making the exhale as long as possible.
She's doing it for those of you that
Yeah, maybe they
that are
can't hear.
listening. I was just going to say
Yeah.
that.
So if you do it and you do like 3, 5, 10 breaths like that, you will start to calm down right away. It's
Yeah.
doing a couple of things. Anytime you start to lengthen your exhale, you're switching on, you're activating or stimulating your vagus nerve.
Mm.
And the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve that comes down through your brainstem, comes down through your jaw, touches your voice box, moves through all of your torso, the front and the back. It touches every organ and it terminates in your pelvic floor.
Mm.
And this is the nerve that's like putting on the brakes to your fight or flight response.
Right.
And so the more you are able to turn it on through either lengthening the exhale or humming, gargling, even the cold, like everyone loves the cold plunge, right? Or the cold showers, that also activates and stimulates this vagus nerve.
Is that why people are doing that? Because I got to be honest, I am not getting into no cold anything. Like that's, I mean, I watch people. I'm like, I can't not doing that. But tell me why people are doing that.
Yeah, it stimulates the vagus nerve. So it helps you to have this, like, takes you out of like this, I'm going to say dysregulated, but like out of kind of being stuck in fight or flight.
Yeah.
And it'll help drop you into your parasympathetic nervous system like quite quickly. It also decreases inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
Because inflammation is just heat building up in the body. So it can be really healing for your, muscles and joints and your whole body, your organs, everything, because your body starts to then flush some of those toxins that we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Out of your system. So, I mean, there are some benefits to it. There's also been a lot of research done around women and doing cold plunging and how it's like maybe not the best to do all the time. But I think, and like with all of these things, often like interventions can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to do it every day, maybe like something that's extreme like that,
Right. Like, I saw this documentary. These swimmers are up in the ice and they're swimming under the ice. And I'm like, they're practically dying. I mean, they bring the EMT out and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Maybe just dip in for 20 seconds and get out if that's what you're looking for. But they're going for like a minute. I'm holding the breath, and I'm just like, wow.
I know humans are amazing. I love it. I mean, I'm like, do it for me.
So if you're getting back on track, if you are let's say you're in fight or flight, somebody who's already in it, you still use the same breath work?
Yeah, I would inhale and
slow down,
exhale slowly through those pursed lips. That's going to like really drop you down. And when you purse your lips, you're putting a little back pressure also. And so it puts a little bit of pressure again on the carotid sinus and on the vagus nerve, which intensifies that stimulation. You can also count. So that's the other thing. As you're breathing, count how long your inhale is and try and make your exhale as long as possible and count how long the exhalation is. And there's been really interesting science done around counting. And it helps to, again, kind of disrupt the stress response.
Well, then you're kind of getting into like, seems like hypnotherapy almost, where you're using counting. Now we're going into trance. Yeah.
But all of these tools are so useful for helping us to just like, okay, I need to come back into my body. The quickest way is to just connect to the breath, to count, to allow yourself to feel embodied, feel your feet on the floor.
Right. Feel
just
again.
Like, feel your body.
Well, because fight or flight is taking you out of body, And so if you learn to connect regularly with your breath, and you'll start feeling, yourself in the body again. Well, I love that you share all that because I do think it's so simple to do, and you're absolutely right. People don't do it.
Oh, I know.
It just takes practice, and it requires dedication and awareness and commitment, to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like maybe first thing in the morning doesn't work for you. So I'm going to say just find a time that works for you. Maybe it's your lunch hour, maybe you always take lunch at noon. That's your time. And you can like close your office door and just breathe for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's when you get home from work, or maybe it's in the car before you enter the house. Like
Right.
oftentimes there's these sort of transition thresholds that we have, after being at work, coming into the house. And it's like we need to kind of decompress before we enter the new environment or before we go into a new environment. So, maybe it's finding those times, but try to find a time that really just works for you and you can just do it. Because if you
Yeah.
do it every day, it will change your nervous system.
Right. So anybody listening who's struggling with a lot of stress,
Yeah.
try it. Just what do you have to lose? It's not going to hurt
Yeah.
you, you know?
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
even if you miss a day, like doing it, 3 times a week is better than not doing it at all.
Yeah. Well, then maybe you crave it more because it's working. So you start doing it. And then you
Yeah,
start doing it in your life as you're moving through life, which is key. So,
exactly.
before
Exactly.
we wrap up today, Harmony, I'd love for you just to share what you do now. I know you work with women
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and share anything you'd like about what you offer, where we can
Sure.
find you, all the things.
Yeah, yeah. I do all kinds of weird things these days. So
I love
I
it.
do, yeah. I do an embodiment sort of, it's like energy work, sort of a bit like Reiki. It's called spinal energetics. And it's
Mm,
really helps, like you kind of enter a deep trance, deep meditative state, deep embodiment. And it's really allowing that innate energy in you. It's a bit like the Kundalini
hmm
activation, but it's not Kundalini activation.
Not like we were talking about. Yeah.
Not like we were talking about, but it just like allows you to feel that inner energy moving through your spine and your body in a
hmm
really interesting way. So if you come on over to my Instagram, you can find me at Harmony Slater Official, and you can watch those fun videos of me working with clients, or sometimes there's videos of me myself. It looks kind of yogic. It looks kind of also like I don't know, witchcraft, maybe. I don't know. Looks pretty weird. And
Now we're all
uh,
going right now
yeah,
to
I
the
know, right?
Instagram. Yeah.
And I offer those sessions both online and in person. And I also teach yoga and pranayama and a breathwork course, the Ancient Breathing 2.0 online, as well as I have my Lightworker Mastermind, where I mentor coaches and healers and other yoga teachers to build sustainable businesses that are helping their nervous system instead of dysregulating their nervous system. So very, very important.
Well, it sounds like all of your training in the past has led you to do that. And that's so wonderful that you offer because so many people are in need. And this idea, too, that you don't have to do the rat race if you don't want to. You don't. You can
You
create your
really
own,
don't.
yeah, your own, whatever you're good at, you can use it to help other people. So thank you for doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it's so much about your own energy too, right? I mean, you know this. It's really like energy before strategy. Like
hmm
I think a lot of us come into being entrepreneurs or coaches or healers, and we're told all this business advice, or we're like, where do I find clients? Where do I get classes? Where do I,
Yeah.
I want to do online? Like there's so many options again nowadays,
Oh,
especially,
there are.
right?
Yeah.
24 hours, 7 days a week. There's like a million things you can do online for free, paid courses, all the things. But it's like really like, what is your soul's calling?
hmm
And like building an online course isn't for everyone.
No.
Running a membership isn't for everyone.
No.
In-person events aren't for everyone. So like what's your soul calling you to? And really connecting into that is the best way to build a business. And
Yeah.
I've like either done or am doing, for some reason, I don't know why, all of them.
You can do them all.
So, yeah, I guess it's just my
Some people
it's
can.
my own dharma.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But you said something
So
lovely there
yeah.
because not everybody does. The marketers come at you with, you got to do it
Yeah,
all like this. And it's like, well, that's not everybody's gift.
it's really not. And it's also like, do you want to be insane?
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't get a badge of honor for being crazy. You just
No.
get burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you start hating what you used to love to do.
Yes. Yeah. And then you're like, now I need to go work at Starbucks and get a real job.
I know. I
You
know.
don't. You don't have to do that. You could just build a business that is sustainable, good for your nervous system, and that you love.
Yeah, that works for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Harmony. I've so enjoyed this conversation. I've always wanted to find somebody that could really go into Kundalini. So thank you. That was really
Well,
interesting.
thank you. I love it. I read your story and I love hearing your personal experience with it as well. And
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's
never thought I would talk about something like that, but here we are.
yeah, it's so great though. It's so great. I think it needs to be normalized a lot more in the sense of not pedestaling it. When I was introduced
Oh,
to
yeah.
Kundalini, it was always like the gurus, the masters, you have to be someone special. You got to practice yoga for 25 years before you can ever have this kind of
Yep.
experience. I think there's something really beautiful about just recognizing that it's in us already and
Yeah.
it's not something we need to like get better to have.
No, but I'm glad you said that because it's a great place to end. And it's so true. There's this glorification of enlightenment. And I think that's nothing more than the ego's claim of glory. And look at me and now bow down to me when that's not really what it means. And so I love that you said that. So thank you for sharing that. It's really in all of us, everybody listening. And we all have the power to find that again.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right. Well, thanks again, Harmony. And please come
Thank
back
you.
anytime.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'd love to.